Joining us now is Jimmy Ray Purser. Jimmy Ray, good to have you here.
Hey, Rick, good to see you again.
And you've got a wheel of misfortune, you call it.
Sadly, yeah, sadly.
Tell us about that. Explain that to us.
How do you break into a network? If I had to break this down to a process, what would it be? And so I came up with the wheel of misfortune. So in the center of this wheel, if you will, you've got your data, you got your gold nugget, what you're trying to protect. So around this wheel, I've got a couple different vectors. I've got control vectors and attack vectors. In the red part of this wheel, I've got the vectors that you can control, your IT staff. You know how much training you give them, putting in new equipment that maybe they're not ready for, or hiring consultants. Then I've also got wireless, the wireless control vector, mainly because a lot of people allow guest access on their network. And then, of course, the external threats, keeping our software up to date. Putting a firewall in place does not solve your security problems. And too many times I see people say, I've got a firewall, I'm done with security, let's go on to the next project.
So if we continue on the wheel here, you have the people, you've got the data leakage, and then vendor vulnerability.
Those three are attack vectors. Those are vectors that typically you have very little control over into your network. And if you can see on the wheel, they actually go directly to the data. Of course, data leakage is one where you're catching information from the press, through 10G filings and so on and so forth, or even just hearing people talk about the business at parties and stuff. It's amazing how much people like to talk about their work.
What's the weakest link on your wheel? Is it the people factor? Is it the direct vectors?
A little bit of both. I'd say that for me, as a security auditor, vendor vulnerabilities are typically the first thing because of the sheer number and overwhelming quantity of these things.
Can you touch a little bit more on the IT staff and the risk there, Jimmy?
Absolutely. You know, when it comes to the IT staff, it's making sure that your folks actually are being trustworthy with that data, if you will. Any consultants that you bring in, make sure that it's not just some guy that says, hey, you know what, I know how to run a security scanner, I'm a security person.
Right.
You know, good certification and credentials, and at least 5 customer references of people that will speak up and say, yeah, this is a very good, reputable consultant or whatever I've worked with. Training the people is critical, and to be always vigilant, always aware of your data is more than just words and ones and zeros. It has serious value out there to a lot of people. You know, $67 billion is at risk here for people to sell this data. I was online, working with information brokers the other day to find out how much data is worth, and credit cards are worth about $7 online. They're not worth hardly anything. Social security numbers, driver's license numbers, those are worth about $100 a piece. So there's real money in this. I think the rule of thumb on any type of this stuff, if it's easy for me, it's even easier for a hacker who does this for a living. And Rick, that's the wheel of misfortune.